Hi guys, Toby here with a new video, and this video is to talk about the worst spec in the game. I don't know about PvE, but for PvP this is the true and most worst spec that you can play currently in PvP. I'm talking about Soul Shuffle. I know in 2s it's a bit better, in 3s it is as worthless as it is in Soul Shuffle, but we're talking about Fury Warrior. Guys, you know you are a bad spec whenever you are below Frost Decay, below Feral Druid, below Enhancement Shaman, and even below Augmentation Evoker on 2100 and more. I want to see in US, because in EU we're a bit biased. We play meta, right? In US you have a bit more Fury Warriors. That's it. But as you know, EU, Europe, is a meta-infested breed of people that play just meta things. If something is meta, we are going to abuse it. That's how we play in Europe, and that's for every single game, right? In Valorant, in Dota, in League of Legends, hell, even in Rocket League, we'll even find a meta way to play. That's how we are in Europe, right? But in NA, I guess you have a bit more of a hardcore player base, but it's still like a very low number. Realize that arms like Fury Warrior is a spec that is currently from a class that is one of the most popular classes in the game, which is Warrior. Warrior, through all metas, has always had somewhat of a population because people just love playing Warrior, people just play Warrior and that's it. People are melee suckers and they do love playing Warrior, and some way Fury Warrior is normally a popular spec. It is a spec that is quite easy to play, easier than arms, and just is kind of a button mashing spec. Again, currently it's a bit worse than that, because even though your button mashing is there, you see no result. So effectively, you feel just like worthless. I'm going to give you why, but again, I want you guys to imprint this aspect. Augmentation Evokers has 33 specs played over 2100 in EU, and in EU you only have 32 Fury Warriors. Do you realize how bad it is? Like, it is a popular class, a class that most players are playing. If you're asking a caster player, he would probably play a warrior if he had a melee main. And often than not, they do play the meta spec, but generally, Fury Warrior, even whenever it's not meta, it has some population. Right now, it is below Frost Decay, which is already a very niche spec. Not everyone is going to play Frost Decay, even whenever it's busted. Nobody would play Frost Decay, or at least not the majority of players would play Frost Decay. It's very niche. Like, same for Feral Druids. Whenever it's OP, not everyone is going to play it because it's still a very niche spec. But Fury Warrior, whenever it's OP or playable, you can count on a player base actually playing it. Something that I'm actually surprised is that you have way more representation of rogues than Fury Warrior. In the past, it was never the case. Fury Warrior is always a spec that people gravitate towards. And this is like really shocking to me. Like, I was watching the statistics and I was like, I gotta make a video about it. I already talked multiple times about Fury Warrior. I talked multiple times on tier list, and God knows, every time I see a tier list about 3s, Soul Shuffle, or the whole PvP, they actually decide putting Fury Warrior higher than B tier. I just want to smash my head onto the keyboard. But anyways, I'm going to diminish that, and I'm going to talk about the things that makes Fury Warrior just not competitive. Just not competitive. I'm going to move my camera a bit, I think. I think the best way to move it would be to change, wait, 2 seconds, like this. I think it's way better, right? So, Fury Warrior, what is going on? How is it different than Arms Warrior? I'm going to give you a few examples, but Fury Warrior is one of the specs that has the least amount of defensives available through self-heals and through defensives like properties, like just in general how sturdy they are like a class. And you would say, but Thorgrey, they have enraged regeneration, they can heal themselves with blood buffs and blood thirst. Like, normally this should be the kings of 1v1s, the kings of BGs, the puck stomper, the literal, like, unkillable DPS. And I would say, normally, in a normal game, in a game where they respect the specs that they kind of create into this design that you would like to have, would have that. But currently, Fury Warrior is pretty much just a shadow of their selves, I would say. The issue is that Fury Warrior have a design made from 5 years ago with balancing from today. So it means that self-heals, no, it doesn't exist anymore because they already nerfed self-healing since BFA, Shadowlands, and currently in Dragonflight. Defensives, no, it got nerfed in Dragonflight and also in Shadowlands. Why? Because it was very strong at Season 3, Season 4 it was okay, I guess, and then you have like Season 1 Dragonflight where really from that point on, Fury Warrior was like worse and worse and worse because they kept on nerfing the stuff from Fury Warriors. So I'm going to give you an example. What is nerfed on Fury Warriors? First and foremost, Warpaint is 5% instead of 10%. Something very basic that could be buffed until like to 10% like how it is in PvE. They just decide to not touch it. What else? I think defensive stance is still nerfed in PvP. What else? I think overall all the self-healing is just nerfed in PvP because of dampening. But in general, you have also a busted spec. Let me explain. First and foremost, a lot of the power is coming through Bloodthirst, Bloodbath, and they diminished everything around Crushing Blow and Raging Blow. First and foremost in Shadowlands, Crushing Blow, which is the augmented ability from Raging Blow that comes from Reckless Abandon, had a charge to it. So whenever you're going to do a Crushing Blow, normally it would charge onto the target, and that would make Fury Warrior the unkiteable machine that it was in Shadowlands. They nerfed it in Dragonflight, they even nerfed it towards a worst version of a Reckless Abandon. So if I'm doing, for example, a Rampage, now unfortunately I don't have it, but I'm going to do it right now. So I'm going to do a Rampage, I'm going to show you what they nerfed, and they were saying like this was to diversify the gameplay, which I call bullshit on them. But so basically, I have Rampage right now. I'm going to Rampage, I get one ability enhancement on the Reckless Abandon, so I can do a Bloodbath or a Crushing Blow. I do one Crushing Blow, and now I'm back to my shitty abilities I have, except Rampage or Onslaught or Execute. So Bloodthirst is worthless, Raging Blow is worthless, and the improvement on those abilities are not that better. Like if I'm doing a Crushing Blow, it does way more on dummy, but it's a physical ability, right? So everything that has armor just doesn't get a lot of value on it. But also, just in general, you have to choose between Bloodbath and Crushing Blow. Bloodbath is healing you as well, but does also a lot of damage depending on the talents that you're choosing, and you also have a force set currently that is revolving around Bloodbath, so every time you're going to do a Odin's Fury into a Rampage, you want to do a Bloodbath, you don't want to do a Crushing Blow. Now the numbers, you would say, oh, but Thorgrey, you just did a 223k Bloodbath without any efforts. Well, it is 50% nerfed in PvP, the values on dummies are whack because they have no armor. I think versatility, it's also on a very low level, so in general you're going to crit around 100k max if you don't have like any modifiers, and still it usually doesn't crit. Like it is stated that you should have at least 50% increased critical strike chance on Bloodbath, which is not the case. Like I have 75% crit and I don't crit, so I assume that it is bugged. But anyways, the damage is nowhere near the level of a dummy. On a dummy, I can assure you, this class feels insane, right? You would say, but like, Thorgrey, you're doing 400k Bloodbaths. I wish I did that on a real player, but it is just not the case. This damage is unhealable. I'm okay with you. Like 200k, I'm giving you like the moment of doubt, we would say, look, Fury Warrior on paper it should be good. But if you take that Fury Warrior, the same one, the same from the builds, the same from the stats, the same from everything, the talents, anything, you put it in a PvP perspective, in a BG, you could do, I would say, okay damage. But in Soul Shuffle, whenever dampening is here, whenever defensives are here, whenever you have a healer behind them, whenever they have like CDs that they can use, whenever they have CDs that they can use on someone, it feels worthless. And you have like a bit of a moment, I would say, where you're doing okay damage, but it's nowhere near like the levels as DH. Like if you would compare Fury Warriors to DH, you would actually laugh out loud, because they don't have the CC, they don't have the survivability, they don't have the utility, they don't have the mobility, they don't even have the damage. So why would you ever take a Fury Warrior instead of a DH? And you would say, but they have Slaughterhouse, they have a 36% PvP talent that is going to reduce all healing, which is stackable by Rampage, Onslaught, and Odin Fury. I'm going to say, yes, in theory, this would be the reason why you would put a Fury Warrior instead of a Havoc Demon Hunter. But in reality, if you're playing in Soul Shuffle, you can trust me that if you're playing with a Hunter, if you're playing with a Rogue, if you're playing with a DH, if you were playing with a Windwalker, or even playing with an Arms Warrior, stacking Slaughterhouse on the main target is difficult. Because whenever you're doing your first Slaughterhouse, I'm going to show you, because you don't want to like trust me on that, but trust me on that. If you're going to charge on the enemy, and the other warrior or the DH is going to charge, or the hunter with his like mortal wound pet, or the rogue that has like the wounding poison has that they have that on the target. If you're doing a rampage, it only does 12%. The first rampage is going to give you 12%. Yes, you can do an onslaught. Yes, you can do other things. It's only 15% if you're doing rampage and onslaught together. 15%. If you have a rogue that has a wounding poison, it's going to get overwritten in an instant. And that's the issue, because it gets overwritten. You don't get the value over 36% mortal wound. You would only have the value of the rogue, of the hunter, of the arms warrior, of the DH, of whatever guy that has a mortal wound effect. Even a demonology warlock with his pet. Now, the only situation where it's actually good, if you're playing with a Retribution Paladin that doesn't have that, if you're playing with an Enhancement Shaman, which he doesn't have that, or if you're playing with a DK, that's okay. If you want to play with a Shadow Priest or Elemental Shaman or whatever, that's okay. But that's like a situation very niche in a Soul Shuffle situation where melees are like reigning, and especially Demon Hunters are reigning, that you're going to face most likely those classes, which again makes your PvP talents worthless to the point where you're just going to not take it. You're going to take anything else because you're going to have a difficult time to actually get it on the target. And whenever you're going to get it, that's very nice, but it means that your friend is not targeting the same guy as you. So you have another problem with that. That being said, you would say, but they have Impending Victory, they have Enraged Regeneration, they have something they can use whenever they're stunned. And yes, it's true, it's a 11 seconds, 30% damage reduction ability on a 2-minute CD. Again, it's also a longer CD than Die by the Sword, so it's not that good. But it doesn't effectively ignore damage like Arms Warrior has on Die by the Sword, or Blur with Dodge, which again, Dodge is like obnoxious. Evasion from rogues, Cloak of Shadows, which you can also have a mini bubble out of it. You don't have even the defenses from a Paladin. I would even say, and I'm weighing my words because I'm also a Shaman main, they have worse defensives than an Enhancement Shaman. Don't shoot me. I know. I said something that people would not think, but truly, Shamans have more defensives. Enhancement Shaman has more defensives than a Fury Warrior, even on paper, because they have Burrow, they have Grounding Totems, they have Static Field Totem to displace people, they have Self-Heals, they have Astral Shift, which again is not the best defensives, but it's more than what Enraged Regeneration could do, and in general, I feel way less safe on a Fury Warrior than, let's say, an Enhancement Shaman, which should tell you something, because Enhancement Shaman defensives is actually crap. So I'm telling you that the other crap is actually shinier than yours. Anyways, what I'm going to say is Fury Warrior is a subclass, is a sub-spec, is like a thing that you should not play, basically. Like, Blizzard is actually telling you, look, this easy-ass spec is not worth to play. And yeah, it's a whole season, a whole expansion actually, a whole season minimum that it is actually crap to play. And then you have like the Chad Havoc Demon Hunter that is actually doing 150k DPS over the course of a whole match, that does triple the AoE damage without sacrificing any talents, by the way, and does insane damage, insane mobility, insane CC, insane survivability, insane utility, insane everything, to be honest. So how the hell content creators, people that are rank 1, by the way, tell you that Fury Warrior is actually a good spec? If that is not an indication of some things that are like biased towards like warriors in general, then I don't know what. And again, I'm okay for a spec being bad. That can happen. But I'm not okay that someone is actually telling you that it is actually a shiny while it is just like a normal Pokemon. Like it's just not worth it. It is just not even worth the look at it. I'm actually like disgusted every time I'm playing Fury Warrior, and it's telling you that I am someone that actually praised Shadowlands Season 3 Fury Warrior before anyone said that it was good. I was there saying, look, this is actually looking very good on paper, and then everyone played it. I'm not saying that it's because of me, but I'm saying that I saw it before everyone. You can see it on my YouTube, you can see it in my history, and then see the population actually going up after my video, although again I'm not saying that it is because of my video, but I saw it before everyone at least. That I can say. But I am a Fury Warrior sucker. I love Fury Warrior. Even in vanilla I play Fury Warrior, while it is actually worse than Arms Warrior. But this is just not okay. I feel like they crapped on Raging Blow, they crapped on Crushing Blow, they crapped on Bloodbath, Bloodthirst, they crapped on Whirlwind, they crapped on everything except the CDs. Yes, Odin's Fury is cool. Yes, Avatar is cool. Yes, Recklessness is cool. Yes, Thunderous Roar is cool, although I would like it to be deleted so we can actually play something else than a bleed build. I would like also them to delete this atrocious like spell talent passive that they made for Annihilator. Please do not make this the capstone talent, while other specs have it way up. I'm thinking about DH, I'm thinking even about Protection Paladins, Protection Warriors. I'm thinking even about Retribution Paladin having it in the middle of the tree, having Crusader Strike being a passive. So this is unacceptable, especially replacing something that is normally a staple of the spec, which is Raging Blow, Crushing Blow. Like, this has been since Mist of Pandaria, if I'm not mistaken, and you actually replace it with that crap. Like, this is just insane, man. And people are like gullible to actually like this like current spec that we have with Fury Warriors. Even if it was OP, it is what like the current design of Fury Warrior, and that's the last thing I'm going to say. The current design of Fury Warrior is actually degenerate gameplay, but I'm going to say if it's OP, it is incredibly frustrating to play against, because this spec is just made like this. Even, like, there is no middle ground. It's either OP to the point where it's disgusting to play, and I'm thinking about having Demon Hunter, but this is like the same kind of design that they put, but they just don't put the same effort, like CC-wise, utility-wise, defensive-wise, onto the spec. Or if it doesn't have the damage, or like the damage to actually be obnoxious, they're actually just crap, because then you just compare it to other specs. Even Unholy Decay, even Havoc Demon Hunter, even Arms Warrior, even like Assassination Rogue, anyone is actually just a better version than Fury Warrior, even though Fury Warrior is just not the better version of themselves. Like, it's crazy how a Berserker spec that is actually made for people that should be new to the game, or also just like lover of the spec and lover of the fantasy of being like a Berserker, going into the battle, trying to self-heal through attacks, but also just dealing incredible amount of damage, turns out to be this pile of... Anyways, you can feel the words for me, but this is really a bad spec, and I just don't want people to actually talk about this until this is really like fixed. And again, Hopefully War Within gets a lot of reworks on multiple specs. I'm going to show you the list again. All the specs that I would like them to rework. Have Demon Hunter, rework it, and I don't tell like the gameplay, but I would say like at least cut half of the CC. Survivability should, like, dodge should just not be a thing anymore for them, in my opinion, but that's my opinion. They should rework, I would not say Arms Warrior, but they should rework how spells are. Like, for example, Slam, I think it's like not even worth to press still. I think in PvE it's just like a filler over filler over filler, but even in PvP it's actually just not like worth the press. Windwalker, I think I talked with some people, they don't like the gameplay kinda, but again, I think I'm biased to that because I talk to people that are biased towards it. But like the rogue specs reworks are fantastic. I think it just needs tuning. Survivor Hunter, I think it's fine. Feral Druid, they need a rework. Enhancement Shaman, a rework. Frost Decay, a rework. Fury Warrior, a rework. And for some kind of reason, those 4 specs are the worst in Soul Shuffle. Again, I think case closed. Augmentation Evoker should be also reworked. I think Fire Mage should not rely on a PvP ton to actually do damage. Please rework that. Hunter should actually get a rework because again, they're playing a spec that has been the same since BFA without double tap, by the way. So it's still very bad actually. Affliction Warlock should also get a rework, in my opinion. I think the mage specs, I think Frost Mage and Arcane Mage, I don't have like enough information to know if it needs a rework. Shadow Priest kind of needs a rework. Bounce Druid, I think it's fine. Devastation Evoker needs a rework, it needs more spells. Elemental Shaman needs a rework. I think a spec relying on purely lava bursts, instance lava burst, is just not healthy for the game. Although it's strong, I think it's not healthy for the game. Demonology Warlock needs a rework, and the other specs, whatever, and the healing specs, it's also whatever. I guess there you could do also a bit of a rework there. And don't get me started about tanks. Anyways, this video has been long. I wanted to talk about those things. Hopefully people are not going to nag again about Fury Warriors. Look, I'm talking about Soul Shuffle. In 2s, anything goes. We all know comps do the difference. There's just a set of DRs that you can actually do in a 2v2 match. So again, Fury Warrior is just specifically okay, I guess, in that matchup. Also, you don't have anyone to actually override your mortal wounds effect. So again, there are a few things that Fury Warriors can make it work in 2s, but it doesn't make it a good spec. It just makes it okay in that aspect. So please try to understand the reasoning behind it. I want the Fury Warriors to actually have a great spec. I want myself also to have a great spec because I do miss playing it, but I miss the versions from before. I miss Mist of Pandaria Fury Warriors. I actually miss Walls of Draenor Fury Warriors. Compared to this, I don't know, man. I don't know how you can mess up a spec that hard. But that's my opinion again. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.